After the first 3 stages of preparing, opening, and leading the negotiation, and you have exerted all the tactics and tools from the Qualified Negotiator program, it's time to close the deal. Keep in mind that not reaching an agreement is not a failure, but rather a choice. In the Middle East, you always need to send signals to collaborate even when conflict rises. So compromise might be necessary in certain situations to help save face in case of the decision. However, if you haven't reached your minimum target, you need to walk away. And it's very sensitive when you do that because you always want to keep a bridge between you and your counterpart. Don't ever feel like you are pressured to take the deal because you have been working on this project for months, which most probably would be the case, and you felt you wasted too much time and energy on it. Just use the 3-door formula: time, perspective, and information. And always remember, we are in this agreement and not you. So from our perspective, as of today's point in time, and based on the shared information, unfortunately, an agreement is not possible for the both of us. You need to be naturally believing and owning to what you're saying, because they will not find it hostile, but quite the opposite, especially if you adopt a respectful and sincere tone. Finally, in a disagreement, you can use warnings, however, in very rare cases, and they should be implemented respectfully and carefully. Example of a warning would be, since we can't reach an agreement, I would need to emphasize and remind you that unfortunately, starting 2024, it will be out of my hands to keep the same price I committed to you today, as our global office has decided on a 10% increase in price. 2024 can be a month away, it can be 3 months away, but that's an okay warning to put out there. In case of an agreement, you need to avoid a winner's smile. It will be perceived as disrespectful, so don't say stuff like, well, that's wonderful, I got everything I needed from this negotiation. No, just because you have a victory doesn't mean you actually won, especially in the Middle East. So always stay humble and get early commitment on the contract process, because you just closed the deal in an informal matter. Getting the contract might take time. As I frequently mentioned, it's us who are equally winning. If your counterpart doesn't feel like a winner as well, that can be very problematic, because they can feel that their dignity is at stake. So you simply say, thank you for approving this for both our benefits. Now we can move forward with A, B, and C. Always be resourceful for them. They want to position themselves as getting the most out of the deal in front of their management. So always be there to answer their questions. You know, I get a lot of calls from clients who ask me to send in the company profile, the brochure, or even the contract itself by personal WhatsApp. So I sometimes get calls from them way past working hours, sometimes even on the weekend, which is actually nice, because this shows that they are comfortable enough with you to contact you whenever they need an answer to a quick questions they have. As I've said, you need to draft the contract very specific. You also need to elaborate descriptions, include penalties and constraints for change requests and deferrals during the implementation phase, because guess what? They can change their mind. So bulletproof the deal with payment conditions and governing laws, and prioritize prepayment over other demands as one of your red demand lists, because it's often defaulted and there's nothing you can do about it. However, you need to leave as much room as you can, because money is not a problem for them, but patience, as I've mentioned over and over, is the most important virtue to succeed in this negotiation. Important aspect to consider is that once it reaches the procurement end, they will always try to get something out of it, an extra thing that you haven't already done. So you want to summarize and note all agreed points, but confirm in the contract everything you want, because as much as you bulletproof the contract, there will always be a thin line in the Middle East between, especially with government entities, between closing a deal and finishing on the implementation and getting your investment out of it. So to summarize, always set up your framework by putting your demands, the storyline, and the fish on the table, and that you naturally have the power to not accept a deal. Because remember, it's a choice. If they are determined to not compromise on an irrational demand, don't panic. Just use a warning and the 3-door formula. And I'm sure you'll ace your negotiation, because now you just finished with your Qualified Negotiator Program Element 3 and you've mastered the Strandler concept.